Come gather round friends and lend me your ears, and them with no ears can lend noses, and I'll tell you an heroic epic of old as happened in Wars of the Roses. Now, Lancashire Army were marching on York, hoping soon lots of plunder to reap. They were all bent on rapine and pillage and doing funny things to our sheep. Prince Ethelbert Lancaster Ackroyd, who was chief of that merry old band, he was sat up at front scoffing pie, tripe and peas on his horse with his pork in his hand. When up ran his portly lieutenant, he'd a face like a bag of dead mice, and he hadn't had a bath for a number of years, so he didn't really smell very nice. He said, "Have you seen that Yorkshireman up on that hill, sire? Look at him, there, over yonder." "A Yorkshireman," said Ethelbert. "He bloody hell, give us telescope, let's have a gander. Can you see him? Look, there, between them two edges. Can you see him? Look, just over there. Bloody hell, he's just stuck up two fingers. Hecky thump, well, how can he dare?" Well, he looked up on side, and there he was stood. It seemed the lieutenant was right. You could tell that this bloke was from Yorkshire, because his pockets were sewn up quite tight. "Oi, you lot down there! Get your arse ends up here, you bunch of black pudding-eating bastards," yelled the Yorkshireman, cocky and sure. "And your mothers have pox, your fathers are hogs, and your 6-year-old sister's a whore." "I'll personally teach yon jackanapes a lesson," said the lieutenant. "I vow and declare, sergeant. Take 3 men-at-arms, give him a bloody gut kicking, then tie him up and bring him down here." So off went the sergeant and 3 men-at-arms, shouting oaths such as, "We'll fix the get," and another said, "I'll beat him to jelly and I'll put him in me helmet to set." Now the Yorkshire bloke hurled forth invectives and curses both dire and coarse, such as Mike Harding wears frilly knickers in bed and Gracie Field's mother's an horse. "I never knew Gracie Field's man were a Viking," said Ethelbert, because he were thick, and his men raised their eyebrows to heaven and tuttered as if to say, "Christ, what a prick." Anyway, to move on to the next piece of action, the sergeant, who were nearly at top and who were waving this bloody big axe round his nut, shouting, "Down to thy knees, varlet, drop!" But our hero, he fairly flew at him and he caught him up nose with his head, and then he flung him round twice by his goolies and let go, and downhill he sped. And to the 3 they didn't last much longer. There was tackles so trim and so neat, they just all ended up in a big sweaty pile at Ethelbert Lancaster's feet. Lieutenant, he were fairly bemazzled. He hadn't seen out like it afore, because his sergeant and privates were clutching the generals and spitting out teeth onto the floor. Ethelbert said, "Is this the best that your men can do?" Well, they were never his men when they'd failed. "Now get back up there and tackle that man. I'll have all your pillage curtailed." So Lieutenant, he set off at a gallop with 50-odd knights at his back. They were well armed with lances and clubs and such alike as they thundered full pelt up the track. Prince Ethelbert watched from a distance. His chest were fair swelling with pride, till a soldier ran back looking sorry for his son. "We need reinforcements," he cried. At this the prince shook with a towering rage, and he gave a big stamp with his foot. Then he shouted obscenities you couldn't tell at all, because thankfully his visor had shut. Said the prince with his visor still down. But of course the bloke couldn't understand him at all, so he just scratched his arse and sat down. "Take the rest of the men and bring that Yorkshireman down here," he continued, in semaphore this time. "Make sure you hurry up about it, you festering cowardly swine." Well, there were a neck of a noise from top of that hill. It made folks in Lancaster start, and all around country for 70-odd miles there were limbs and stuff flying about. A chap as far away as Clackheaton found a head in his garden. Must have rolled there in confusion. It had 2 ugly welts on its forehead and cheek and a sort of a black pudding-shaped contusion. At last, what were left of that once proud young band came back downhill, sadder but wiser, to be greeted by curses from Ethelbert, who was still trying to undo his visor. "What the bloody hell are you lot doing, beaten by one lousy Yorkshireman?" he continued in semaphore again. "For God's sake, get up there and don't be so soft. Where are you? Mice or Lancashire men?" Is there a difference? This got the sergeant's dander up, and he flew on the prince in a rage. He said, "Leave us alone, you foppish young fool. Go home and bugger your page." "Anyway," went on the lieutenant, "with your wishes we tried to conquer, but you see, we were all quite outnumbered. It were an ambush. There were 2 of them, sir. So get back to Oldham, you silly young twerp." He'd a sneer on his face as he told him, and then he gave him a kick up his hauberk, and he didn't need telling to Oldham.